Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Good. Well, my name is Juan de Lascurain. I'm originally from Mexico. I always start my conferences by taking a photo of my audience so I can have memories for the future. So I'm going to ask you all to give me a good smile on this side. And then on this side, everybody happy? We're all happy to be here, right? So I'm originally from Mexico. And I'm going to start with a story that really changed my life. When I was 17, I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Anybody here been to Oklahoma? You've been to Oklahoma? Okay. I had grown up playing tennis in Mexico. Since I was a kid, I grew up in a house where my mom always taught me about faith, about inspiring people. She told me when I was a kid, she said, don't ever follow money. Follow your passion. And my dad on the other side took me to a tennis court. I was always had a lot of energy, and he took me to a tennis court, and I fell in love with tennis. So when I was 17, ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma at university. I didn't really know what I wanted to study at the time. All I knew is that I wanted to play tennis. The second person I met when I landed in Oklahoma was a guy from India. His name, Jitender Malhi. We met and we totally just hit it off. He was also a tennis player. There was another guy, his name was Rune from Norway, who was a runner. And we became really, really close friends. And Jitender always would tell me, like, hey, you need to go to India. I was, at the time, 17, I had no money, and we would always go to his room, and he would always watch the Indian movies, and we just became really, really good friends. And to all of you, how many of you in here are from India? It's such an amazing country. 30 years later, I ended up coming to India for the first time, and just fell in love with your country. It's really, really an amazing country. It reminds me a lot of certain parts of Mexico and the people. So when I started college, I had no clue what I wanted to study. I didn't even know that one day I was going to be designing, I was going to be selling merchandise all over the world. But at the time, I picked business. So I was almost about to be finished with my college career. And my dad was already asking me what I was going to do, with my life after that. I knew he wanted me to go get an MBA, which is, the typical thing in my country. You go to school, you go to college, then you get an MBA, you get married, you have kids, and then, you work for a company for so many years. You retire at 60, 65, or whatever age you retire, and then you die. And since I was a kid, I felt that I wanted to do more with my life than just follow that path. So we had about 6 months before I was going to graduate. And like I said, my dad was like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go work, where are you going to go do an MBA? And I was like, no, I want to do something else. So my friend Rune came to me one day, and he said, hey, why don't we go do a triathlon? Everybody knows what triathlon is, right? Running, swimming, and biking. And I said, okay, let's go do a triathlon. He said, yeah, let's go to Florida. There's a triathlon there. I was a very good tennis player, a runner. I was pretty decent, but I was an athlete. My friend was national champion runner in Norway. So we went and rented some bikes. We thought they were like amazing bikes. And we both thought we were going to go to Florida and win this triathlon. So we flew to Florida. We got there, and we realized that our bikes weighed about 20 pounds more than the good bikes. Everybody had shaven legs. I was like, I'm not ever going to shave my legs. And we competed in this race. I finished the race. And way back then, there was no cell phones. So then they would give you Polaroid photos of your competition, of your place where you finished. To my surprise, my photo was me crossing the finish line with a lady she was about 65. And I had finished almost, towards the last of the race. My friend hadn't done that good either. So we were a little disappointed. We went back to college. Everybody was like, hey, how did you guys do? We're like, well, I finished, number 750 with a lady So around 65, crossing the finish line. And so we kept, studying. I was, again, getting close to the end of, I was going to graduate. And my dad kept telling me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So one day, my friend Runa came to me with a great proposition. He said, what are your plans after college? I said, I'm not sure yet. He said, why don't we become triathletes and we go travel around the world for 4 years and compete? He said, why don't we just go compete? We make a schedule and we travel around the world for 4 years. And I'm like, wow, great. I love traveling. I didn't know if I was going to be that good at triathlon, but the traveling part sounded very good. So I told him yes. I had no clue how I was going to pay for it. So I went to my dad. I graduated finally. And my dad said, okay, so what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to be a triathlete. And I'm going to travel around the world for 4 years. And my dad looked at me like, okay, how are you going to pay for it? I said, well, maybe you can sponsor me. And my dad was like, sorry, I'm not going to sponsor you. I said, okay, don't worry. I'm going to figure it out myself. So the first thing I did was I went and I made my resume to get a job. So I went to the tallest tower in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It wasn't that tall. And I printed 12 resumes, and I took them to several companies. So about 2 weeks went by. Well, by the way, my dad kept telling me, you're going to starve, Triathletes don't make money. But there was something inside of me that kept telling me, there was a little voice. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard that little voice. I call it intuition. A little small voice that tells you, do this. Don't follow just the money. Do this. And so there was that little voice. I'm like, I have to do this.